You saw in the last episode where I phoned a friend. Fortunately, one of my friends is Joey Thompson. What's up, bro? Welcome. What I wanted to talk about is this idea of branding. So instead of me sitting behind Photoshop and reading online articles about fonts for about 2 days, which I've already done, to stop myself from doing this, I'm just gonna ask, what do you think? What should I do? And that's why Joey's here. So thanks for coming.
I'm so glad to be here. This is so much fun.
I have a personal brand. Well, I don't have a personal brand yet. I have a video blog, about 12 subscribers, and a website on Squarespace that I threw together in about 2 hours. That's what I have. So the goal of the video blog is incremental improvements over time. I need to start working on my personal brand. So my question is for you, as it relates to my personal brand or any personal brand, where do I start?
Where you want to start with is your actual customer experience. How do you want the customer to perceive you or your organization when they look at a website or a video?
So you mean it's not all about me?
No, well, it's not all about you necessarily. It's about the perception that you want people to have about you. If you want your organization to be fun and witty, then you are going to want your brand identity to be fun and witty.
That's a good perspective. So I need to think about, and it's the question that everyone asks an entrepreneur. Who is this for? And it's a really hard question to answer when you kind of are just starting out and you don't have a freaking clue. A couple of things that I've thought about. I shared with you a Pinterest board. Great place to start. Put a bunch of crap you like on Pinterest and then send it to a designer and say, make sense of this.
We call that a mood board, if you're wondering. You want to create a mood or a tone for your brand. So start off with some inspiration that you might have.
On Pinterest, primarily what you're gonna see is you're gonna see a lot of things like Saturday Night Live, late night TV, and the idea for me is, and what I've shared with Joey, and I'd love to get his feedback right here, uncut. Here's some nuances of late night that I think is great. Number one, it's after prime time, so it's just verging on inappropriate, right? So it's not crass, it's not rude, it's not crude, but it's just enough inappropriate to be funny. Late night, you've got good dark colors, it's at night, but you got great contrast, really bold fonts from what I can see. But overall, the tone for the entrepreneurial video blog, we're talking about things like entrepreneurs and vlogs, right? We're gonna talk about things like small business finance, like boring things. But if we can at least make it somewhat fun, I would say that's an overall tone. How do you take something as subjective as late night, fun, but bold, and turn that into, like, you know, a brand?
I mean, really, when you're developing an identity, what I like to do is I like to start off with deciding what the brand is and what the brand isn't. And I use a fun tool called a brand deck. It's like a deck of cards that has contrasting characteristics on either side, and I choose which one goes for that.
Where do you get that?
Brand deck, I believe it's branddeck.com.
They are not a sponsor.
No.
But hopefully, when I have more than 12 subscribers, I will actually have sponsors.
So basically, you lay out a column of what your brand is, what your brand isn't, and not applicable. And you just lay cards down based off what it is and what it isn't. So I like to start there. I like to start with deciding, go ahead and laying out what it isn't so that we can say, okay, visually it's not this. It's not lime green. It's not hazy purple, right? You can go ahead and say it's not this vividly wild color palette. It's more smart, you know, neon kind of, and that's kind of the thing you're trying to figure out is, am I going to go this kind of wild and crazy, or am I going to go this kind of wild and crazy? Kind of the way that many late night shows have to differentiate themselves from other shows, is deciding how. So if your brand is like a late night show, you're probably going to want it to be fun, bold, slightly uncomfortable. You want to have a little bit of that contrast, a little bit of that excitement, and you want to have a little bit of that. There's a little bit of class to late night shows. So you want to add that.
That's a good point.
As well, because they are wearing most of the time suits, and they are very much interviewing high profile people that are, when it comes to how they interact with their audience, it's a lot different than how they interact with their guests.
Yeah,
in many cases.
That's true, yeah.
And in some cases, they share sandwiches behind people, but in a lot of cases,
if I had a sandwich right then,
we would do that.
I would do that.
That'd be great. No sandwich?
We're gonna come back and edit that in. A
sandwich. And so you really want to make sure that whatever audience you're going for, in this case, entrepreneurs, that they are the type of people that will respond to this late night feel that you want.
Right.
Because that's going to be the hardest thing to judge is, will somebody respond to a late night feel?
So that's the second really good point that you said that's the same. First, it's who are you talking to, right? And now it's like, just because you have an idea, you really have to explore your idea of brand direction. Will your audience respond to that? So again, it's not about me.
No, it's not about you. And really, it's not about the designer who's designing it either. It's not like whatever my favorite color is, that's what I'm going to use, right? Even if I'm really into purple right now, I'm not going to use purple for your brand if that's not going to fit the tone that you want it to be. The design itself doesn't take over the actual experience of the brand. We want to make sure that whatever we design, whatever we add to it, whatever colors we choose, whatever fonts we choose, they enhance the experience, not take away from it.
That's a good one-liner. Ensuring that your personal brand enhances the experience and interaction with your audience, doesn't distract or take away from it. So how do you do that?
Well, it really starts with creating an experience around your brand. You can't just stop with a logo that you think is nice. Your logo is just a small part of your brand. You then want to expound onto your color palette, of course, we talked about that, but also the photography you're using, the way you're treating your photography, the way that customers interact with a video or anything like that. Are you using those graphics correctly in your video intros? Are you treating your video the way that you want it to be treated? You also have to consider that, if I take my logo away, after I build some credibility, if I take my logo away, will I still stand? Does it still have my same unique feel? And if you can answer yes to that question, then you know you've built a pretty solid brand. Very much like when you look at a Coke can, and you take away the words Coca-Cola, and you look at the can, you still know that's a Coke can. Now, they've also had years of credibility built under that brand, but they haven't changed much. They maintain the same consistency throughout the entire experience. From when you buy a Coke to when you drink a Coke and what it tastes like, the sound that a can makes when you open it, they've played off of all of these aspects of a brand.
So a brand goes far beyond the logo. Far
beyond the logo. It engages all six senses, not just your visual.
So that's awesome. And I love sitting down, like especially entrepreneurs, right? It's all about if it's a product that you're creating or a service, whatever it is in your company, getting to brainstorm around what your customer experience is really fun. But for some reason, I myself and people that I've seen, when it comes to branding, like all of a sudden you get all like selfish and it's all about you and what you want. So how would I even, what do you sit down and ask yourself? Like, how do I even change my frame of mind? Instead of asking, what do I want this to look like? What are some questions I need to ask as I'm thinking about brand experience so I can even think the right way?
So basically, because you're doing primarily video blogs, the big thing you want to ask yourself is, how do I want the audience to feel when they're watching this? Do I want them to feel funny? Do I want them to laugh? Do I want them to, they're not going to feel funny. That would be silly.
I feel funny.
I feel funny today.
That would be.
The other part of that is, what are they doing when they are watching this? Are they on their Facebook as well? What are they doing while they're watching? So how are they feeling while they're watching? What are they doing while they're watching? And how is what you're doing enhancing that experience for them? So if you want them to primarily get info out of it, then what are you doing on your video blog to give them that info? Not just the video itself, but also any graphics you might have, any video you might have that goes into that little screen on the right-hand side. The backdrop behind us, what that feels like for the audience, and then also how you're interacting with them after the video is posted.
All right, so that's awesome. So here's what I would love. And I know it takes a lot of talent and it'll take a lot of experience for me to get here. I would love for, after someone watches this video, whether it's a single mom who has 3 kids and she feels like she can be an entrepreneur and she has an incredible idea, like she walks away going, oh, you don't have to be a freaking genius or a Harvard grad to be an entrepreneur. Like, these are simple steps. That person all the way over to a seasoned entrepreneur who may be a technician, so maybe they're really good with technology, but they're not good with the people side. I would love for them to spend like 5 to 10 minutes max. Watch a video that has a principle in it. Laugh, which is really hard to make people laugh. Like that's the hardest thing in the world. So if I can even remotely become halfway decent at that, I'll be happy. But then the next day, when they're on their 4th hour, they're working their freaking butt off, and they remember this stupid video, but it actually helps them make the right decision. Man, that would be gold.
Well, it's creating an experience that people want to come back to. It's creating a brand that people trust, right? And they go, ooh, I trust that brand.